has written some really great stuff on this if you guys are interested. Futuristic Play, andrewchen.techpad.com. That's some really interesting analysis on MySpace in general, and then also MySpace versus Facebook. But I think it's, I don't know, I kind of find myself in between those two opinions. I do think that MySpace is likely to be a spammy environment, but I gotta think that some percentage of 150 million users is still worth paying attention to. That's right. So go right ahead.
Oh.
I didn't mean to read it. It's an interesting perspective. I think it's a valid perspective.
The knockout blow.
So, I mean, I just want to go back to the social graph, right? Like, in Facebook, you know, my mom has a Facebook account, my dad has a Facebook account, and my wife, her parents, my little cousins who just turned in, like, their freshman in high school. No, that's crazy. It's crazy. Now, check it out. Okay, so...
None of them have MySpace accounts, right?
None. My mom doesn't have a MySpace account. My cousins don't have a MySpace account.
Okay, and was there anybody in that group under 15? Under
yeah.
21, let's say?
Yeah.
And they don't have MySpace.
My little cousins are freshmen in high school. They're on Facebook.
Okay.
Okay, but check it out. The social graph. My real social graph, like the people I talk to in the real world, crazy, they all have a Facebook account.
Wait, where'd you go to school?
I went to school in Oklahoma.
Oh, okay, there's some street cred there. So I can say that because I'm from West Virginia, and everybody makes jokes about people from West Virginia.
Yeah, that's fine. I actually grew up in Texas. So.
Okay, so...
No, but honestly, like, my real network in real life, it exists in Facebook. It does not exist in MySpace. And a lot of people can relate to that. They have a lot of people that live in Facebook that you see every day in the real life, and you communicate with them, and you send messages, and you play games with them, not in MySpace. In MySpace, you listen to your favorite band, and you leave a comment like, dude, can't wait till you come to the Bay. You know what I mean? That is not a social graph. That is you communicating on a one-way communication model.
Right. No, that's an interesting one that I hadn't thought about before, but I guess you might say that celebrities live on MySpace, they don't live on Facebook as much, right?
What do you mean? Like, what's that lady who did the show?
Bands, you know, musicians. At least they have these public visibility. Some celebrities have a presence on MySpace, ostensibly, whether it's them or not.
Well, there's another.
Yeah.
I mean, there's another reason for that, which is that Facebook caps the number of friends you can have to 5,000.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
that's very relevant.
You know, just you guys didn't know.
Let's give Kasra the mic here a little bit. I don't know. That was great. That was actually a relevant perspective. I understand where you're coming from. Kasra, so...
we're down to 10 minutes.
All right, very good, thank you. So, MySpace. Cesspool or interesting? Come on.
What does it say?
Actually, I avoided making a MySpace account for the longest time until I had to work on it. So I don't have much opinions about MySpace, but I think it's like a huge audience, and it's a very good place to be and have apps on because it can reach huge.
And particularly from a gaming perspective. So you're in business of providing tools to game developers. MySpace, great opportunity, okay opportunity, not so good opportunity.
So they actually, MySpace launched their own games channel recently. We see it as a really great opportunity because they have a lot of users. Actually, they're still the biggest in the US.
Okay.
Bigger than Facebook. And we just look at it from a user perspective. It's like the more users, the better, and the more opportunities to capture different target groups.
Okay, so I think we beat this to death a little bit, but let's say outside of MySpace and Facebook, who would you bet on 2 years out? Who do you think is going to be a big player out there? Quick opinions.
Except for Facebook and MySpace?
Yes, so let's assume that Facebook and MySpace go wherever direction they're going, or they at least remain large and relevant. So of the other 4 or 5 social networks, High Five, Orchid, Friendster, Bebo, Weibo.
Well, High Five and Orchid have a huge audience outside of North America and Europe.
Okay.
But Bebo got a lot of buzz because they use the same API as Facebook, so they automatically got a lot of developers going on there and porting their apps over because it was a lot easier to do.
So you think all 4 of those are equally interesting 2 years out?
It's going to be an interesting battle to see what happens, but Bebo right now is the smallest compared to the other ones.
Okay. Tim, real quick reactions on those 3 or 4.
I'd actually wouldn't be surprised if somebody new emerged. Actually, maybe it's a Twitter that evolves a little bit more because it's all social connections, and and it's more around the microblogging and you know, constant activity stream, and it evolves from that as opposed to your public persona. I think people have some degree of allegiance to what they're doing. It's where their social connections are. There's high switching costs, and you know, you have the different networks that are there and have a presence. And so I think that a Me Too isn't necessarily going to be quite as good. So it's going to have to evolve from something different like a Twitter.
I'll take audience questions, so start thinking about them. But quick reactions. You know, those 4 players or others. I guess one that we hadn't really talked about was blogging platforms. Interesting or not interesting?
Well, okay. Well, I mean, just the future of things. I personally really like Facebook, and I think they're doing a really good job. And I think that, you know, whenever app developers complain about something, they're really quick to respond.
Okay.
So I think Facebook will definitely survive on for a long time.
Okay. Ryan, any further reaction? I know you're a big Facebook guy. Here's one other question. If Google launched OpenSocial enabled capability on any of their native properties, let's say YouTube particularly, or Gmail, iGoogle, I mean, I think those are coming. iGoogle probably first of that bunch, but maybe Gmail not too far behind. And I certainly think YouTube is the big potential opportunity there. Does that change your opinion about, you know, sort of that environment, or Facebook still?
Yeah, I mean, my hate for MySpace is not equal to my hate for OpenSocial. So
wow. Okay.
I don't think OpenSocial is the right type of platform for, you know, I don't like the idea of having to code in JavaScript to write any type of applications, unless you're doing like an Ajax or some kind of drag and drop functionality. But I really just don't think it's the right type of platform.
So higher level abstraction for you is a big plus, and Facebook is killing that, is your opinion?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's take some questions. We haven't actually talked about App Engine and all that stuff, but let's see where the questions are. Yes?
Okay, so a question to the panel. If you were starting today and you want to build applications and you don't have any user base, you don't have anything, you're just starting right now, which platform will you choose, and will you even choose a social platform?
So let's say, who doesn't think it's Facebook right now? Wayne doesn't think it's Facebook.
Well, I mean, if you're starting out and you have no app, I mean, a lot of the other platforms that are launching right now have a big incentive to get, you know, app developers to write apps for them. So, you know, High Five.
They have a big incentive, but do they have a big payoff that makes that incentive real yet?
So one thing is, like, Facebook already has a lot of apps and it's hard to get out. So if you go on the other networks, even though most of them don't support it so well, like MySpace is actually really bad. If you want to put an app up, it's very not trendy yet. But you could totally grab a huger portion of the population.
So big fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
And that's, where do you go, High Five? Merket?
Try MySpace, there's a lot of people on it. I'm in the donkey side.
Joel, who doesn't really work for Facebook right now, but he does, yes.
Well, you're all mentioning that it's kind of been a land grab, where, you know, it's kind of slowing down a bit. Maybe the other platforms have a lot more to grab. So I'm curious of what you think that this group is going to be 6 months down the line, and what we're going to be. When this question is asked again, and these other networks are now saturated like you're claiming that ours are, what is your answer then, rather than now? And that's more relevant for now, so that our network and other networks can solve that problem.
Okay, so let's pick the 6 month rather than the 2 year window opportunity. Is there you have a potential opinion?
Yeah. So what I really like about all these social networks opening up is that, like, people have now this identity that they can use, and what I think people should do is kind of like connect all of them together. So there's no like, oh, should I do a MySpace, or should I do an OpenSocial, or should I do like a High Five? They just put their app up, and they get like automatically all of them, which is what we're trying to do with our tool for games. Because there shouldn't be any segregation.